2014 gubernatorial debate here on the UALR campus. I want to say thanks to the UALR Chancellor Joel Anderson and his staff for providing the University Theater tonight for our debate. It is time now to go into the portion we're calling the spin room. We have Alicia Dover and Janelle Lilly set up to find out what the candidates' campaign spokesmen are saying about how their man did tonight. We'll start with Alicia.
Hey, Scott. Yeah, we're actually talking right now to Brad Howard. He's the campaign spokesperson for Mike Ross. A lot of Mike Ross supporters out here today, and Brad, obviously, every time there's a debate, we know there's going to be attacks thrown, and we know that when there is that 30-second rebuttal, the candidate is going to take that opportunity to say something that the other candidate does not get a chance to respond to. So I'm sure that you are chomping at the bit to respond to some things that were thrown at Ross that he did not get a chance to respond to. The first of which I'll go ahead and touch on is when Hutchinson said that Ross did not allow a bill out of committee during his time in Congress that would have basically said, if you like your plan, you can keep it. He also accused him of being bipartisan, or not being bipartisan, not working with the other side. What do you have to say to that?
Well, first of all, let me say I think Mike Ross clearly won this debate. He's the strongest leader for Arkansas. He's got a history of working in a bipartisan way. Congressman Hutchinson's doing everything he can to muddy the water because he knows Mike Ross has the momentum and is going to win this election. You know, Mike Ross has been consistently opposed to the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. What they're talking about was a long time before that, not related to Obamacare. So, again, he's just trying to muddy the water. But I think the most interesting attack tonight was Asa Hutchinson, of all people, attacking Mike Ross for being too partisan. You know, Asa's entire career in Congress was being a hyper-partisan. Mike's entire career was being bipartisan. Mike worked in a bipartisan way to get stuff done. He put good public policy over partisan politics, and I think that's why Mike Ross continued to get reelected every term he was up for reelection in Congress.
All right, Brad, thank you for responding to that. And then another question I would like to throw to you. Hutchinson called Ross's tax plan a pie in the sky. And I do know that when reporters have asked Ross for a certain timeline on his tax cut plan, he has not been able to give one. And, why is that, and is there a timeline?
Well, there's a reason for that, because we're taking the Beebe approach to this. Governor Beebe back in 2006 said he was going to take the sales tax off groceries, but he's going to do it in a fiscally responsible way so that we didn't run deficits and we didn't have to cut important things like education or Medicaid. Mike Ross is taking the exact same approach. Congressman Hutchinson attacked him in 2006 for being fiscally responsible. He attacked Governor Beebe. He's attacking Mike Ross for taking the exact same fiscally responsible approach now. The danger with Asa Hutchinson's tax cut plan is he's promising something in year one that we just simply can't afford. What he's going to do is turn us into the Kansas, and over in Kansas you're seeing record deficits, massive cuts to public education, and credit downgrades. We're taking the Governor Beebe model. Asa Hutchinson keeps continuing to take the Kansas model, and that's dangerous for Arkansas.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the grocery tax. For those who aren't familiar at all with Governor Beebe's plan and kind of how that worked out, can you explain why you guys are allowing the tax cut plan to sort of grow with revenue?
Well, because that's how you are a true fiscal conservative, is that every year when you come up with the budget, and the first time we look at the budget when we get elected in January is going to be for fiscal year 2016. And so what we do is we meet with the budget forecasters to say how much revenue do we got to work with. All right, let's take that revenue, let's implement Mike's lower fare tax cut plan, and let's increase access to pre-K. Let's do everything we can to create jobs in Arkansas. And that's the gradual fiscal responsible approach that Governor Beebe has taken all 8 years. I mean, there's a reason why Governor Beebe is the most popular governor in America. It's because he balanced our budget through some of the most turbulent economic times in state history. And yet we're one of the very few states that continue to balance the budget throughout that. Asa Hutchinson wants to throw that model out the window and promise to cut taxes in year one, which we can't afford all to win an election. That's what they do in D.C. We're in Arkansas. We look at common sense fiscal conservative approaches, and that's exactly what Mike Ross is going to do as governor.
And it's no surprise that Democrat Governor Mike Beebe has endorsed him for his candidacy for governor.
Man, we're proud to have it.
And also another question I definitely want to throw to you. We talk a lot about guns here in this state. Obviously, hunting is a big issue here, and a lot of people are very much for their Second Amendment rights. I know that Mike Ross has received an endorsement from the NRA, but I do want to talk to you about what Hutchinson said. He said that after Sandy Hook, Ross called for gun control, and I'm sure that you want to address that. And, I've talked with many county prosecutors also with that open carry law. They have interpreted the law the way that Mr. Hutchinson interprets it. And why won't Ross interpret it that way?
Well, let me first say that no one's more pro-Second Amendment than Mike Ross. He has a concealed carry license. He has constantly defended the Second Amendment in Congress. He consistently received an A-plus rating from the National Rifle Association. They endorsed us in our primary. They continue to give him an A rating in this campaign. And, it's pretty hypocritical for Asa Hutchinson to come after us on the Second Amendment when he himself is out there proposing to restrict Second Amendment rights through background checks and other things he's done in the past. So it's an odd attack for Asa Hutchinson. But, I think Mike Ross, no one's more pro-gun than Mike Ross. He has a history of being that. It's not just about rhetoric. It's about results. And Mike Ross has consistently worked to defend the Second Amendment. He co-chaired the bipartisan Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus when he was in Congress, which is the largest bipartisan caucus in Congress. He is very pro-gun. And to the open carry thing, I think just for the fact that there is such discrepancy on open carry that we're not sure, that the legislature needs to take a look at this. And Mike Ross is willing to talk to stakeholders, to look at the legislation, and to see what we can do to clarify the law.
So if they did come back with an open carry law, would Mike Ross veto that? Has he placed a position on that?
Like I said, we have to see what they come back with. Mike Ross has consistently defended the Second Amendment, and he will do so as governor.
All right, and then one last question I do want to throw to you, something I have not heard Mr. Ross say before, is that if you do not live in this state, you should not be allowed to advertise here on TV. That's obviously talking about the Citizens United ruling, which, as you know, the Supreme Court has made a ruling on where a lot of outside money can advertise here. I thought that was interesting that he said that, and can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think like every other Arkansan in the state, we're sick and tired of all these negative attacks from these unnamed or these named groups that no one knows who their donors are or who's backing them. Their whole purpose is to slander a candidate, and I think Arkansans are tired of that. In Arkansas, we're raised to, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it. And so what we're saying is that if you're in Arkansas, we need to know, who the donors are. We need to know who the attacks are coming from. And I think Mike Ross has got a point. We're sick and tired of these negative out-of-state attacks who have no accountability. And it's also hypocritical for Asa Hutchinson to attack us for negative ads when he himself, his campaign has run negative ads. He likes to say he's never run negative ads, but if you go back and look in the record, he absolutely has. And it's a little hypocritical from his campaign to say they've never done it. I think we're both sick of negative ads. Let's talk about what we're for. Mike Ross's focus as governor is going to be to improve education, expand pre-K, cut taxes, and create more paying jobs in Arkansas. That's what we've focused on from day one. That's what we're going to continue to focus for the rest of the campaign.
All right. Thank you so much, Brad Howard, campaign spokesperson for Mike Ross. Thanks a lot for being here. I'm glad we could at least give your side a chance to clear some of those things up. Thank you so much. All right, Janelle, we're going to send it over to you to talk